Welcome to Small Business University Online, powered by Small Business Expo, America's largest business trade show and conference for small business owners. Please be sure to check out our complete webinar schedule and all on-demand recordings from previous webinars on smallbusinessuniversity.online. All of our webinars are full of incredible information to help you grow your business. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available within 24 hours on smallbusinessuniversity.online. In order to ensure optimal sound and video quality during this presentation, please make sure you are logged in using the latest version of Google Chrome. If you encounter any technical issues during the webinar, we suggest that you log out and log back in to reset your system. And now, I'm very excited to introduce today's webinar. Please take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And my name is Lynn Donaldson, and I am the founder and owner of Connect Strategic Solutions Group. And as you can see at the bottom of my screen, I am certified as a women-owned small business. And today, what I really want to talk to you about is being a resilient entrepreneur. I've had my ups and downs, I've got the battle scars, so I can tell you from experience. And what I want to help you do is nurture a mighty mindset for growth and success. What we're going to cover today is the psychology of success. And yes, there is a psychology. We're going to look at how you can embrace change and you can be resilient and take action. We're going to look at stress management, goal setting and motivation, how you can build confidence, and then the big thing for most entrepreneurs is time management. How can we manage our time more effectively when we're trying to do all these different things? And then we'll look at turning failure into success, because it might not actually be failure. And then we're looking at staying adaptable. There's so much going on at the moment that we're going to look at how you can stay adaptable in this current environment. And then lastly, we'll look at the road ahead. If there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will try and cover them, and I'm monitoring 3 screens at the moment, so I will try and cover them. If I don't get to cover your question, I'll come back to you at the end, but please feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, let's get started. There's a huge connection between mindset and business performance, because the mindset can influence your decision-making and risk-taking. I want you to look at this diagram very, very carefully. What we believe is true gives us power. And it's our subconscious mind that has these beliefs. Now, these beliefs may have been generated when we were children or earlier in our career. I'll give you an example. If you were always told at home, money doesn't grow on trees, or money's hard to make, that goes into your subconscious and you make that a belief of yours. And that can hold you back from making money because it goes into your conscious thoughts, your words, and you're believing that you can't make money. So your thoughts and words and the images behind your eyes are along the lines of, I don't know why I can do this because I can't make any money anyway. Money's hard to make. That doesn't feel so good because it goes into your feelings and emotions. And it's then you're feeling, I can't make money, so why am I bothering? That then will take your actions, and it dictate your actions, should I say. And that will then in turn dictate the results. This opposite is true, because at that time when you heard that sentence, money doesn't grow on trees, you can actually make a decision, a different decision. And we'll come back to that a little bit on later. You can make a new decision that says, actually, money is really easy to make, and I can make money easily. That then in turn goes to your subconscious thoughts. Every time you open your mouth, it will be, I can make money. Not every single sentence, of course, or every time you have an interaction, but the words that you use around money will be very positive. The feelings and emotions will be very positive about money. And then the actions you take, taking those sales calls, making those connections, because you believe that money's easy to make. And so having those connections and perhaps helping other people means you'll also make money. And that will dictate your results. Henry Ford had the saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So let's let that sink in a little minute. If you think you can, you will, you can. And if you think you can't, then you're right. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but that's the basis of your mindset and how it can influence the decision making. There are two different types of mindset in business to some extent. There's a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And obviously, if you're very fixed, life's going to be too hard, everything's going to be too hard, and you're going to ignore feedback, and you're going to be threatened by the success of others. But if you have a growth mindset and your intelligence is being developed all the time, you embrace challenges, and you know that you can train your brain, because the belief results feedback loop we went through earlier, you can rewire your brain. And again, we'll get to that later. I can retrain my brain to be more positive. And effort is a path to reward and mastery. These are the sort of words that you can use when you're in a growth mindset. I can learn from feedback. I'm inspired by the success of others. Take a few minutes now to consider what your mindset currently is. Are you in a fixed mindset, or are you in a growth mindset? I'll give you a few seconds and just notice how you're feeling with that mindset that you know you're in. And hopefully you're in more of a growth mindset. Let's look at embracing change, because again, change, what happens when something happens? It's an event that can derail us. And there's always going to be change in business. Like I said, I've got the battle scars because there's always something happening. But you can turn that change into an opportunity for growth. Growth is constant, and something that happened can actually be an opportunity that you hadn't seen coming. So something that might have happened, you lost that account, but then you got 5 more. So that's where embracing the change can really help you. When you're adopting change, it's really about being flexible and agile. Can you do something slightly different for a customer? And of course, the pandemic showed that, where restaurants were suddenly asked to do takeout menus and takeouts, and they went online. So it's adopting the change and really embracing the new idea and the new way to do things. And as business owners, small business owners, we're constantly in that mode. Things are changing very quickly. Our customer needs are changing very quickly. So how can we change and adapt to what's happening? But of course, the first thing you have to do is accept. Don't stick your head in the sand. Don't ignore the change. I don't know whether anybody's read Who Moved My Cheese, but that's along the lines of adapting to the change. That somebody moved the cheese, and so they had to find the cheese elsewhere. So don't ignore it. And then focus on what you can control. Identify aspects of the situation that you can have control over, and then concentrate on your energy and efforts on those areas. There's so much that we can't control, but focusing on what we can control will give us momentum and help us move forward. And accept some of the things that aren't beyond our control, because we can't always change them. And of course, maintain a growth mindset, which we just talked about earlier. I'm just going to look in the chat. There's nothing specific, so I'm going to come back to the chat later on, if that's okay. How do we overcome the many obstacles that we find as small businesses? Some of the obstacles being money, sales, time, employees. How many times have you heard yourself saying, there aren't any good people out there, or they don't stay long enough? If you get into that mindset of there aren't any good people out there, that's what will happen. You will get an influx of people who aren't good for your business, who aren't the right people for your business. So try and turn that around. Like I said, make a new decision that there are really good people out there. I just haven't found them yet. Or with time, we'll come back to that again later with time blocking, but I do have enough time. When you sit there in the morning and think I've got all this to do, you can think about, actually, I do have enough time. And again, we talked about money in terms of, I do have enough money. I can make money. Money is easy to make. So again, focusing on what you can control, And then stay present. Focus on what's happening now. Fear of the unknown or fear of what's going to happen will only stall you and will hold you back. So stay present in the moment and then visualize. We'll come to visualization later again, but you can visualize, what do you want? What do you really want out of this business? What do you want to happen out of it? What do you want out of your staff? Once you visualize it and sit and visualize what you actually want, the reasons or the how will come to you. Because if you know what you want, then the how will come to you. But how do we stay resilient in this kind of world with lots of things happening? Well, one example is Apple. If you remember, Apple were actually going bankrupt in 1997. And Marvel, with the blockbuster movies such as Spider-Man and the Avengers, they actually weren't into the movies at the time, but they moved into the movies. And now they are in millions of fans around the world and with billions of dollars. So just a slight shift can change your fate. And that's one of the things is really don't give up. Keep looking for that shift that can change your fate and keep your resilience. Learn from what's actually happened before and learn from others. If there's somebody who has modeled exactly what you want to do, and I'm not saying copy, I'm saying learn from what they've done. And if they've done a specific process, then think about how you can adapt your processes or how you can adapt your team to what they've done so that you're bouncing back all the time and staying in with the relevance of the time. Now, we all get stressed with things going on. And any business owner knows this only too well. I'm going to take you through an exercise. It's called the box breathing method. And any time you sit at your desk and you're feeling stressed, just sit and use the box breathing method. It's apparently used by the forces, the US forces and the US police force when they're going into a combative situation. So let's do this together. Step 1, breathe in for 4, and generally breathe in through your nose, but I'm going to be talking. So breathe in for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What that does is it calms down your nervous system. And if you do that 2 or 3 times, it will calm your nervous system down and clear your brain. Because once you go into fight, flight, or freeze mode, when stress pops in, that's when your brain is going to be fogged and you're not going to be able to see through things. So if you sit and do your box breathing, then you can calm and you'll be able to see the wood for the trees, as it were, but you'll be able to see what you need to move forward. And at the end, I'm going to give you some resources, some good books to look at as well. But that's one of the techniques I use. If I start to feel that I'm going to go into excited mode or, something's worrying me, and then I just sit and do the box breathing method. And you can do it anywhere. You can do it on the bus, you can do it in the car, just especially if you're in traffic, just sit and do your box breathing method. Goal setting is so important because if you don't know where you are now and you don't know where you want to go, how are you going to know when you get there? So if you can set your goals every single morning, I write out every single morning my goals. And some people do it every single night. But also, if during the day I find I'm getting distracted, which is easy as an entrepreneur, or something happens, I just revert back to my goals. And that motivates me to keep going because I know what I want and I'm visualizing what I want. And the next slide is about visualizing. But if you set your goals, no more than 5 goals. The reason being that it's harder to achieve. If you've got a list of 10 goals, you're never going to get to the end of it. But if you've got 5 concrete goals, then you can write them out clearly. It could be revenue goals, it could be staff goals, it could be employee goals, anything, sales goals, whatever you want. Just write out 5 key goals for your business. Every morning, like I say, sometimes at night, but especially if you find yourself getting a little bit distracted during the day. These are my goals. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And also, one of the things I do is if I'm starting to get a little bit distracted, or my brain is trying to hijack me and sabotage me and says, oh, we've done enough for today, I sit at my desk and I say, just one more thing. Just do one more thing. Just do one more thing. And before I notice it, I've found 5 things that I've done that I didn't think I was going to get done. So it's just one more thing. And I say that to myself, let's just do one more thing before you go off and make a cup of coffee or go off to make dinner. Just do one more thing. Visualization is very powerful. Your reticular activating system at the base of your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and non-reality. And I don't know whether you've ever looked for a car, a particular make or model. When you decide you want this red Porsche, just for example, you start seeing red Porsches everywhere. And you think, I didn't know there was that many red Porsches in this town, or that many red Nissans in this town. But your brain, your reticular activating system, has actually noticed what you want, and it's showing you what you want everywhere you go. So one of the things you can do is sit and visualize. When you're doing your goals, visualize them actually happening. Close your eyes and visualize them actually happening. You've reached that target, 1 million, 3 million, whatever that target is. See it, hear it, feel it, smell it. Just sit in that moment and really visualize what you actually want to do. And there's an exercise that Tony Robbins does to sort of make an example of this. Maybe you can try it at home or in your offices. Put your arm out straight and then turn around as far as you can go and see how far you can go. Bring your arm back. And then in your head, pretend you're turning your arm and that you're going further than you did before. Just do that for a minute. Pretend you're turning your arm and it's gone further than you had before. Then do it again. Pretend that your arm is going further. Now try and do it in real time. Take your arm and see how far you can go. And suddenly you can actually go further. I'm a bit limited because of the chair. But it's because your reticular activating system and your visualization has taken over. And you use that in the world of work and business to visualize what you're wanting and what you're looking for. It's a very powerful thing. Reticular activating system is very, very powerful. They actually did a study whereby they showed pianists playing the piano and they monitored the brain activity. Then they asked them to pretend to play the piano, and the same activity lit up in their brain. It's because your brain is very powerful. So let's use what's between our ears and use it to our advantage. Let's visualize what we want for success and use it for going forward. Building confidence is one of those things whereby you're probably confident because you've started your own business or you run your own business. But we all have that little nagging thing sometimes that says, can I actually do this? I don't think I can, or I don't know that I should be doing this. That's when you really want to make a new decision, because it's the old belief. And it could have come from something when in my case, it was a school teacher who told me I would never amount to anything in biology. Now, I think she was a little bit wrong because that's my subject of choice, and I've been in the industry a number of years. But at that time, I could have made the decision, I'm no good at biology and I'm just not going to go into it. In my case, I took the opposite. I made a new decision that says, I am good at biology and I'm going to show you how good at biology I am. And you can do that the same if something happens where you're having a little wobble, that I call a wobble, whereby your confidence suddenly starts to take a tank and you think, how am I going to do this? You can make a new decision. And that new decision, you then say, I am actually very good at this. And what you do then is start stacking the evidence. And there's a tool we use. You put in one column, and you can do this now. Put in one column your limiting belief. I'm not good enough, which is the most common limiting belief for a lot of people. And by the way, you're not broken. We all are, if that's the case. It's just something that our brain does. So put in the column, this is my limiting belief, I'm not good enough. In the next column, put your new decision. Actually, I'm rock at this. I'm a rock star. And then in the third column, you start stacking the evidence. And your reticular activating system, because you've used this new new belief, will start finding the evidence to show that you are actually a rock star. It's a bit like a Google, when you do a Google search. If you ask Google to find you all the bad things that are happening in the world, that's exactly what it'll bring back. But if you ask it to bring you all the good things that are happening in the world, that's exactly what it'll bring back. So you're training your brain, bring back the good things by saying your new decision. My new decision is I am good enough. It brings all the things that show you are good enough. Oh, actually, you achieved this, you achieved that, you achieved the other. And as you start writing it down, physically writing it down, you're rewiring your brain, and your brain is starting to really take account of that and move towards it. Obviously, creativity. If you are in a disempowered state because something's happened and it's derailed you, this I'm not good enough has clicked in, quickly try and move to the new decision and then start thinking creatively. How can I, if I had a solution, what would it look like? What could I do? And then your brain will give you ideas. So it's just thinking about, you can also do brainstorming with your team and mind mapping, whereby you just let your mind go on a piece of paper, thoughts to thoughts to thoughts, and then that can pull you together to give you a different idea. And obviously networking and collaboration with your colleagues, because we all need people. I think that's one of the things the pandemic really showed us, that we all need that contact, that human contact. Let's network and collaborate and build a supportive framework for yourself, because as entrepreneurs, we're going out on our own, and the Small Business Expo is a great way of building and networking and collaborating with one another. And these webinars are a great way to share our experience with one another and help each other along. Now, the biggest thing that most entrepreneurs see is time management. And there's a little technique for time blocking. You block in your calendar specific times. So if you procrastinate a little bit about doing sales calls or contacting clients or customer service, block the time in your calendar. But it's important to set boundaries as well. So you block that time in your calendar and you make sure you stick to it. I'm going to do these sales calls. You turn off your email. You turn off the phone unless you're making the calls on that phone, and you ask your staff not to disturb you at that point, either via email, by phone, or knocking on your door, so that you can concentrate. You can give yourself a little reward at the end of it, of 15 minutes of break or a coffee, but focus, because that will give you time, the time that you need, and little sprints. You can also use that for personal time as well as business time. And obviously, any small business needs to really be customer centric. Our customers are the most important people, apart from our employees and our staff, because without the customers, we don't exist. And serving our customers to the highest level. But mindset plays a role. If you pick up a phone and your mindset is along the lines of I'm in a disempowered state or something's just happened, you can actually hear it on the other end of the phone. If you're in a good mindset and if you're in a positive mindset, that person can hear your excitement on the other end of the phone. And it's as simple as that. Any interaction you have with your customers, make sure you're in a good mindset. If you have that difficult customer, do your box breathing technique before you go in. Breathe, center, calm, so that you go in and then think of something positive about that client. I really like the way they do this. And then when you're going in, you're meeting them and you're in a more positive mindset. We've all had some failures, but it's not necessarily always a failure, it's a learning point. So if we can think about what we learned from that specific thing, and I'll give you a good example. I was an entrepreneur and I started to scale and grow, and something happened and I started to spiral and I didn't know what to do. But then I was led to coaching, and that's why I now coach other people, because that coaching helped me get out of my head and start working again. And that's where a failure actually led to something good. It wasn't pleasant at the time. It wasn't a very happy time. But what it did was it gave me the skills to then be able to support other people in coaching and help them get through what they're going through. So there's always a positive side. And Newton's third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if something bad happens, there's something good around the corner. You know, they're saying of when one door closes, another one opens. Those all are based in the fact that failure can lead to something positive. Here's one example. During the pandemic, I had a company that were trying to launch a product. It was very, very important for them. And then just like everybody else, they got shut down. They couldn't actually go out and see their potential customers. And you're trying to launch a product in that time. I'm sure some of you may have had that situation. So what we did was, as a team, I worked with the senior management team and kept them at a peak performance level throughout the whole process. Despite what everybody else was going through, we managed to stay at a peak performance so that they could help their teams. And whereas my consulting team then worked on the what ifs and the scenario planning and continued with the strategy. Okay, the strategy was this. Now let's think about a new strategy. What do we need to do? And that's where you adapt to change and adapt to what's actually happening. But it was a success because at the end of the day, the clients still launched their products and very successfully. And we managed to get them through that. We've got a very dynamic market at the moment, and the trends, constantly looking at trends and industry changes and being ahead of it. We talked about that a little bit earlier with Who Moved My Cheese. So it's really about trying to remain relevant, and that's really hard to do at the moment because we've all got the attention span of a gnat because there's so much coming at us. So how do you stay relevant? It's staying top of people's mind, always being Grant Cardone calls it being omnipresent, being top of mind, making sure you follow up with your clients, making sure that they know who you are and that the last person they spoke to was you. If they call, here's a trick that I learned. If you call somebody and they don't answer, call them back because they're more likely to answer the second time because they'll think, oh, it's really important. Somebody called me back. So there's just one simple trick. And of course, maintaining work-life balance is really important for us as entrepreneurs because it's hard to not focus completely on work. And having those time blocking times, you can do time blocking for your business and you can time block for personal time. So, okay, kids, I'm available between this time and this time. But other than that, I'm working. Or with your spouse or whoever, family. Make sure you have time for you as well and be careful, have self-care. You know, either that massage that when you achieve a certain goal, I'm going to get that massage, or I'm going to have a facial, or whatever really helps you to relax. So you can see that mindfulness and mental wellness is so important. And I hope I've shown you how having a good mindset can help you move forward and be resilient in whatever life throws at you, whatever the industry throws at you, whatever economics throw at you. It's about incorporating that mindset of I can and I can do this, and changing your belief from an old belief that says I can't, I don't know how, to I can, and I'm going to find a way of how to do that. So we've covered a lot of ground, but hopefully this has given you a little bit of insight into how, as an entrepreneur, we can keep ourselves going and keep ourselves in success mode by thinking about success rather than being in fear mode of what would happen what happens if I don't make payroll, if I don't do this. Staying in a positive mode and thinking of the now. I am going to make payroll. Money's easy to make. My customers really value what we have. My customers are most important. And so keeping an unshakable mindset will really help you move forward. I've just put some additional resources down for some of the books that actually helped me. And one of them is The Mountain Is You. And this handles self-sabotage, because our brain will really sabotage us, because it's back to caveman days when if you didn't conform to the norm, you were pushed out of the group. And in those days, you could have been eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or frozen to death. Now, we know that doesn't naturally exist now. I don't think there's any saber-toothed tigers anyway, but the Mountain is You is really good for helping you think about the self-sabotage. I did it as an audio book, and it's almost like she was talking to me, because we're all still work in progress. Then there's the who, not the how. That thing of like, how do I need to do something? It's not how, it's like, who could I possibly get to help me? And then You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero for the ladies. The Donkey Principle, which is an interesting book. She's got donkeys, and she takes mindset and uses the donkeys as a kind of example. It's a great book, but there's some other additional resources as well. But I just want to say thank you for having me on the webinar. It's been great to present to you, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some questions. But here are my contact details: lynn@connectorstrategy.com. My telephone number 908-963-7747, so you can text me, and also contact me on LinkedIn or our website, which is www.connectorstrategy.com. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to stop screen sharing now so that we can answer some questions, if that's okay. Kayla. Hello? Oh. Kayla, can you hear me?
Hey, Lynn.
Hi. Okay.
I'm not seeing any questions yet.
Okay.
So now is the time to ask questions, everybody. So please, if you have any questions for Lynn, put those in that chat panel. We do have time to answer those.
If there's anybody who wants me to go over anything again, that decision matrix that I was talking about, or the matrix, putting down the old belief, then the new belief, and then stacking the evidence is very, very powerful, because suddenly your brain sees that you can do this, or that money is easy to make, because you've started stacking the evidence. Are there any questions? Thank you, Jasmine. And happy to answer anything. And I, just so you know, I actually love coaching entrepreneurs, because having been there and had that wobble moment, which lasted quite a long time, I now know how to get out of it and help other entrepreneurs to get out of it. And I love seeing when somebody goes from being in a disempowered state, and we had one incident where somebody had to let an employee go, and he was devastated. But then what we did was we talked through what that would mean to him for his business in general. And in actual fact, although it wasn't easy, the person wasn't a good fit for the job, and it wasn't easy for him to do. In the end, it freed his time up, because he was spending so much time checking on that person and working through with them, that he was actually able to go out and get more business. And now he's absolutely soaring. So they're just some of the examples of how changing a mindset and working it through. And it's just by questioning. I don't give you the answers. I question. And then what you come back to me with, that's when we start working through, what does that mean? What is it costing you not to do that? And how do we move forward? And as I say, I just love seeing entrepreneurs just starting to soar and move forward in their job or in their businesses. Any questions? I'm sure there must be one question, unless I did a good job of explaining it all. But it's hard to do it in 35 minutes, because there's a lot of information that you have to absorb. But if you remember the belief feedback loop, what you think, what you believe dictates what your thoughts and words are, and dictates your emotions, and that dictates what your actions are, and then your results. How to start my online business. I think that's more for SBE. What if there is only one piece of evidence of the change? Well, Demetrius, there's usually other evidence. It's like a Google search, like I say. If you think there's only one evidence, it then leads your brain to find the other evidence. So if, for example, money is hard to make, if that was your old decision or your old belief, then if you start stacking the evidence, money is easy to make. It could be one of the evidence is I actually got a discount on this particular piece of furniture, or I got a discount on this particular software. Then your brain starts thinking, oh yes, and then I also made an extra 30% on this one particular service. Oh yes, and then I actually found some money in the settee the other day, or the sofa, should I say, or I was actually left some money by somebody else. It starts stacking the evidence, and your brain will actually start, because your brain is visualizing what you're telling it. Like I said, it's that Google search. If you tell it to find me stuff, it will do. And it's an exercise you can do. Write it down yourself, Demetrius, and see how it works. But I'm happy to kind of, if you want to contact me, I'm happy to go through it with you. And we do it with our clients all the time. And just seeing it in writing really helps, because then your brain's like, oh yeah, I know what you mean now. Cool, thank you for the question. Anybody else?
So Lynn, I think there was a question if you scroll up from Jasmine.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm just seeing it. Okay, so fear of knowing where to start. One of the things, if you have seen somebody who's doing something similar, as I said, you can model what they do. And I'm not saying copy because of copyright and you don't want to copy somebody, but have you studied the people that are already into sports and see how they're doing, what they're doing? So you're almost doing a competitive analysis, but you're checking what everybody else is doing and also seeing if there's a gap. Because if there's a gap in what people are doing, that might be an opportunity for you. But that fear, if your fear is saying, I don't know where to start, that's going to hold you back, because it can put you in a disempowered position. If you then make that new decision, actually, I don't know how to start yet, but if I did start, this is where I would start. And then your brain will actually start coming up with solutions. So like I say, you can start with a competitive intelligence, or you can start looking at what others are doing, but also just making that shift in your brain of, I don't know where to start yet, or I haven't worked things out completely yet. But if I did, this is what it might look like. And you could start brainstorming, because let your brain go loose. If I was to start this business in sports, this is what I would need to do. This is what I would need. And then you start mind mapping it. And that's just, I've had this thought here, and that leads to that, and that leads to that, and that leads to that. And it's a little bit like a button. Does that help you, Jasmine? And Princess, I'm not sure how to pose this, but I'm just going to jump right in. What's your question? Okay. Okay, thank you, Jasmine. I'm glad it helped. What's your question, Princess? It says you're going to jump right in, but there's no specific question, unless I've missed it. Did I miss it, Kayla?
I see Princess's question. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll see it.
So I run a business with my sister. We have difference of worldviews, yeah, because I still have a lot of corporate deconstruction after 20 years of work. Okay. Collaboration is always a little bit difficult because you have different worldviews, like you say. Is your question, how do I handle that? Okay, because of the difference in seeing things, we clash. Can you sit and work together on, because is her belief that, thank you, is her belief that you're going to do it a specific way, and your belief is that you're going to do it a different way? Or is it that you see things slightly differently? She has a fear and you don't. Struggling with being silenced. Okay, that's boundary setting. That's really clear boundary setting. So saying to your sister, I love you and I want to work together, but we have to have clear boundaries. I have an opinion too, and we're going to sit and work together and express those opinions calmly and collectively. And I know exactly what you mean with creative and grounded. Sometimes I have those challenges because I'm always the squeaky clean one. You can't do that, especially in my industry, which is healthcare and life sciences. You have to be so careful. But creatives always want to go and push the envelope. So I get what you're saying, but it's setting boundaries. Now, a boundary is not asking. It's how you really set a high boundary to say, if you are going to shout at me, I'm going to leave the room. If we are going to sit down and we are going to have this calm conversation and you're going to listen to my opinion and be very, very clear up front. I value your opinion. I want you to value my opinion. And let's talk. And you shouting over me, if you're going to do that, I'm going to leave. And then she'll get to know that that isn't going to work. If we're going to work together, if we're going to be calm about this, and if we're going to listen to each other, then we've got something we can talk about. And going in, remember, before you have that question, before you have that interaction, ground yourself, do the box breathing. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4. And gather your brain. It gets oxygen to your brain, but also it calms you right down. And go in with that calm of, I'm just going to explore. I'm setting my boundaries and we're going to have a discussion. Does that help, Princess? Okay. How do you use failure to create an opportunity when you don't know where to start? From Shanae. If you have had a failure, look at what you could learn from that failure. What were the lessons that it taught you? And then think about, right, what happened? What could I do? What do I want to do? Visualize what you actually want. If you go onto our website, connectorstrategy.com, there's actually a visualization tool, and it helps you look at the 10 areas of your life, what you want to achieve in career, what you want to leave in home, achieve in home life, financial, etc. And you can kind of visualize it. But sit and visualize, what do I actually want? Do I want to have my own business? Do I want to, what does it look like? And then just start brainstorming. Visualize it, start brainstorming, just let your brain go free. And that will start giving you some answers, and start working through what you actually want to achieve. And it'll start giving you the how. If you remember I said about the book, the who, not how. If you want to start looking at that, it gives you the idea of like, this is what I want to do, but I don't know how. And then you start thinking, but who could help me? Who could help me achieve what I need to achieve? Do I need somebody to help me work through the details in a little bit more detailed? Or do I need a virtual assistant? Or do I need software? Do I need tools? I know Kayla and I were talking about AI earlier, and AI is just a tool. Could that help me? If you're not sure what you want to do, visualize what you think you want, and then start looking for it, because your reticular activating brain will say, oh, that's what you want, and it'll start showing you. Next time you log on, you might actually find that there's a pop-up that says what you're looking for. It might be an advert for something that is interesting you, because your reticular activating system has already said, that's what you're looking for. That's what I'm going to show you. I hope that helps. Now, I know we're coming close to time, so if there's any last question, I'd be happy to answer it. If not, it's been lovely meeting with you all this afternoon, and I hope you got value out of it. But please do feel free to reach out to me. And I know Kayla put the email, the website address into the chat for you. Please visit the website. Like I say, there's actually a video on career coaching, but there's also this visualization tool which you can sit and work through. What do you want to achieve? I'm at maybe a 6 now, but I want to be at a 10. It shows you the gaps, and it'll show you where where you are and where you need to go. Awesome. Thank you very much. And thank you for your time. And I wish you a very good day.
Thank you so much for that informative presentation. We really enjoyed it. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded and will be available on demand within 24 hours on smallbusinessuniversity.online. Please remember to frequently check out our webinar schedule on smallbusinessuniversity.online for other great weekly business building webinars. Thank you all for joining us and have a great rest of your day.
Hi, Kayla.